The stock market has been roaring, ignoring all views which have potential negative consequences. Simply stick our heads in the sand and everything will be just fine. Recent events have been completely understated or flat out ignored. And why? That's quite obvious. If things get worse, the Fed will print more money. We know this because Jerome Powell told us that. He said they are monitoring the situation very closely and are standing by. Doesn't that just make you feel all warm and cozy? You came here for the truth, so let me unveil that for you. Today we're going to look at what's been happening inside of China. I'm going to give you the details that the news simply will not. There's a lot here that we need to get into, and we're looking at this on a different level entirely. The mainstream media will not touch this, of course, but I have to tiptoe around the subject, and I'm going to show you why you need to know this information that is going to affect you no matter where you are. You don't have to be in this particular country to be affected by it. It will come around. Looking at this first though, I need to talk about why it's important, how this relates to you. And you saw what Jerome Powell said. There is nothing about this economy that is out of kilter or imbalanced. And when you get a bull-faced lie like this, everybody should be paying attention and everybody should be demanding that they tell the truth. But of course, nobody will. Everybody stays silent because their portfolio continues to do better year over year. And that's what it's all about. Look, I know things are messed up today. I realize that they're juicing the markets, but it's helping me out. My 401k is worth more, so why am I going to complain about it? Why am I going to say anything about this when it's benefiting me? But it couldn't be further from the truth. If they are unwilling to let that which is a concern become apparent to the public, then we have an issue that is going to eventually come around to haunt us. Look at the markets. You can see for yourself. I just pulled out the 1-year chart, but you can pretty much take any time frame and you see how incredible the performance has been. There have been some bumps along the way. There had been many issues with hitting resistance points. But at this moment, we look to be heading towards a Dow Jones of 30,000, a NASDAQ at 10,000, and an S&P very close to 3,500 here. And it doesn't seem to be stopping. The upper limit continues to be raised. That ceiling, I see the extreme examples over time, this only gets lifted higher and higher. But we have reason to be concerned. You are looking at the China GDP versus the CAI, and that is the current activity indicator, and we see that this has been trending downward. But I also wanted to note on here, Goldman Sachs provides their GDP estimate for the first quarter of 2020, and you can see that it essentially falls off a cliff. But you don't have to worry about it because 2020 and 2021, we have this V-shaped recovery and things are going to look better and better. Well, some estimates are not exactly so positive. They do believe that this will stretch out for a period of time. Nobody really knows how bad things get. We have these more traditional indicators like GDP, and we can see imports and exports, and I've shown you those as well. But there are other ways to measure this that isn't so obvious, and we'll cover that more in a moment. I wanted to show you the construction steel apparent demand that is simply fallen off a cliff. This gives you some idea as to what's been going on. We would definitely see a lot of these different indicators around the beginning of the year falling down, but come February, that would start to trend upward. That has not been happening, and you can see in this case here, clearly there's something wrong. But I know there's a lot of people out there who would say, well, I don't have to worry. I'm not located there. I'm in this country. I'm in that country. I don't have to deal with them. I don't work with them. My business doesn't get affected by them. It's all good. China matters to Asia and everyone for exports. And this is just showing you that region where Australia, Taiwan, New Zealand, South Korea, China's exports as a percentage of the total. And for example, Australia is nearly 30%. 30%. Taiwan, New Zealand, same situation. It's a big deal. There's no possible way that you can have a problem in a country like China and it not being an issue everywhere else. Surely some countries are more affected than others, but we have to understand what globalization has done. It has made each and every country intertwined with one another, some more than others, but it will have an impact most certainly. China matters to Asia for intermediates, share of China in total imports of intermediate goods, and this goes, for example, Vietnam, it's over 30%. There are other examples in here if you want to see that for yourself, but it's pretty obvious that these countries are connected. Daily coal consumption during the Lunar New Year, as you can see on this chart, as I showed you, we would see this typically. Definitely at the beginning of the year, we see this start to trend downward, but that would come back up as people got back to work. Unfortunately, that hasn't happened, and we see the flatlining taking place. That is very clear, that is very apparent, and you can see it with the coal consumption. So you'd be able to determine what's happening simply by looking at what's being used, what's being moved, what's being put in and out, and that can't be denied. Sure, you can fake a GDP number. The government can put any statistic up there to make you feel just fine. But when we start to look at these other things that I'll show you in a second, how are you going to get around that? Surely they can buffer some of this, they can pad it, but they will not be able to do this on all stats on all levels. Take a look at this. We are seeing the particulate matter. So that's basically the pollution that we are seeing. And over time, we would have a similar pattern. This is hard to see on here, I know, but if you bear with me, I'll just explain it. On the left-hand side, you are seeing the different cities, and basically we're comparing the 6-year average to 2020. The blue line being the 6-year average, and the yellow line being 2020. On the right-hand side, it's just giving you the 2020 numbers so you can see those specifically. Essentially, in these 4 major cities, we are seeing a major downtrend that is way more than the average. Essentially, we should be seeing it coming down and then returning back upward, but that isn't the case. It's basically going directly down, and that contraction is apparent here in this particular stat that shows you that the cities are not moving. This is similar to what I'm showing you here on the screen, the air pollution itself. You could look at all the different cities. I have the link in the description for this particular website, but there's so many. I just did a quick search online to find this, and you can see that historically, this looks like not much activity is actually going on in these cities. I just kind of moved this around just to give myself an idea of what's been happening. And isn't it interesting that we can see the development simply by looking at the pollution that's going on? And right now, it shows us a moderate level in the areas I was checking out. Yes, you do see some that are outliers, but for the most case, I was seeing a lot of yellows. Of course, this isn't comprehensive and I wouldn't put too much into it, but it's just one piece that I thought was interesting. If you know the navigation company TomTom, they have this on their website. I thought it was interesting to take a look at. Shanghai traffic. You could see congestion level right now, 0%. It's 27% less than the average at this time. And if you look at the chart at the bottom, the red line, that's the live congestion, and the blue is the average congestion in 2019. So we can look at this, throughout the day. You can look at it next week. You can look at it whenever you want. But essentially, what we are seeing is this level practically at 0. I don't know if you could see that on your screen, but it's supposed to be much higher. So if I draw the line sort of just to give you an idea comparison, because that was a very fine line there, it should be much higher, but it's not at all. So as you can see what I'm trying to do here, I'm pulling in these indicators that are not mainstream at all, that are just interesting. Capital Economics had these charts. I wanted to bring them to you as well. Average road congestion across 100 cities in China. And I think that's good because you're not just going to see this in one place or the other and be able to determine what's really going on. They found the data with 100 cities in mind, giving you that right here. And I pull up the highlighter and you can see the difference. Yes, as I said, you would have the new year coming in, things are slowing down, and they would pick up again. However, that did not happen. The flat line is present. Daily passenger traffic completely fallen off a cliff. Passenger transport volumes This has also gone down significantly: air, rail, and road. Coal consumption, you could see that it is way under the average, and even daily property sales in 30 major cities has flatlined as well. So putting all these things together, we see that there is definitely something going on. This slowdown is big. It's a major event that's taking place and will impact other countries. The longer it goes on, the worse that impact will be felt. China's passenger vehicle sales year over year. This has been something I've been covering for a while, and you could see that the decline has continued. It's been going on for years, of course. If you really look at it, the trend is there, but it's no different than what we are seeing in India and other places as well, with the auto industry doing really bad right now. And yet the car prices are still so high, they cannot produce them at a lower price and make a profit, I guess. I don't know what their plan is, but it's not looking good. Take a look at Nissan, set to eliminate at least 4,300 white-collar jobs and shut down 2 manufacturing sites. And why? Because they want to add more to their bottom line. That's literally what it says in this Reuters article. And Mercedes-Benz parent company Daimler is preparing to lay off 15,000 workers as it tries to adapt to electric cars. That's just the excuse, but we know what's going on. There is a major slowdown that is happening in the world today. The global economic collapse is on. We're simply looking for a pin to pop the bubble. I don't know what it's going to be. I don't know what's going to take, but we are at the most overvalued markets we have ever seen in history, and yet the economy is hemorrhaging. Something's really not adding up. That's all for this video. If you found it informative, hit that thumbs up button. You are supporting me when you do, so thank you very much. If you want to learn how to make money on Amazon, on e-commerce websites, this will tell you everything you need to know, and it's free, 100% free, step-by-step, theamazongps.com. If you want the financial education that was not taught to you in school, these 2 books will give you what you need to know from A to Z. The foundation, the history, the asset classes, all the details are located in the link in the description. If you want the audiobook instead, moneygps.com. Wait a second, don't go anywhere. This is what you need to know. It's got all the details located right here. Click on the link. I'll see you there.